Shiyu's life altered totally when he came back in the realm of magical pets. He developed a rare ability enabling him to replicate and instruct abilities from exceptional entities under particular circumstances. Will he be the strongest pet tamer able to create? Let's learn. The narrative starts on a calm day, Shiyu asleep in bed. Then a book falls on his head. Fragmented memories of an accident while exploring ruins fill his head as he comes to. Assuming he was rescued, he finds himself in a strange room perplexed. A mirror is in front of him. As he looks into it, he is startled to discover a quite different face and figure reflected back. He realizes he has traveled into another body. He was a young archaeologist not so long ago, but today he is a regular high school student. He looks about the room and finds a book calling him. Taking it up, he discovers it's about animal taming. Memory from his new persona start to surface as he reads. He finds he is now on a planet known as Blue Star rather than Earth. In this planet, mountains and rivers as well as other parts of nature like plants and animals can develop into intelligent and strong entities. To someone from Earth, they would be like legendary species. Here among us, humans have unique abilities known as taming, which enables us to rule these advanced animals. By means of meditation, tamers establish other realms in their thoughts, therefore facilitating their capture and control of these amazing beings. This capacity has helped mankind flourish and brought in the taming era. Although tamers are considered as aristocrats, strong animals who occasionally cause havoc rule the wilderness outside of human communities. Shuyu remembers that a monster attack has claimed his family. His present self has also lost family. Clearer knowledge of this planet helps him to really realize his transmigration, but the awareness makes him unimpressed. He is now a nobody, different from his prior existence. Driven to maximize his circumstances, he investigates his standing and finds he is just an intern breeder at the pet center of Glacier City. Reaching for the book Guide to Interning at Breeding Bases, Shuyu remembers his one application and challenging existence as an orphan-turned low-ranking worker. Though unfortunate, he decides to concentrate on finishing his work for today. He has to feed the snow wolves alone first thing in morning. He will assist his crew in transporting feed in the afternoon and compiling growth statistics on green cottonworms. Shuyu questions his capacity to handle snow wolves as he knows they are predators with frightening violet eyes. Yet, he argues that if an intern can accomplish it, it must be doable. He remembers being particularly good in theoretical classes and having a special taming ability telepathy that lets him talk with anything. Although not fit for battle, telepathy has uses in diplomacy and study. Aiming to befriend the wolves, Shuyu chooses to cleverly use it. Working on his ability, he triggers his taming dimensiona Brilliant Shining Cube. Within, he finds a floating book with a gem at its center. Suspecting it has a second gift, he opens it excitedly and reveals the handbook for that ability. Under some circumstances, this uncommon ability lets him replicate and teach abilities from great beings. He sees the skill, touches the beast, and performs both inside an hour. Teaching calls both endurance and fit with the receiving beast. Shuyu sees the potential of Skill's guidebook to provide him a major edge despite these limitations. He goes over taming fundamentals since a tamer's strength relies on their pet beast, aptitudes, knowledge, and skill development. Closing the book, he considers his two gifts and comes to see they present an amazing chance. Shuyu seeks to understand his two talents and reaches an answer. Shuyu, the transmigrator, has telepathy. Shuyu of Blue Planet possesses the guidebook talent of skill. This helps him to relax and understand that, indeed, having two abilities is a benefit. Positively, he persuaded himself to make use of any tools at his disposal. Strong beeping sounds break his train of thinking and tell him it is growing late. Thinking about the snow wolves that might be getting hungry, Shuyu recalls his daily assignments and rushes to his internship. Riding an electronic vehicle toward the facility, he is wearing a camouflage outfit with a blue scarf. Once there, he starts looking for the food of the snow wolves. He comes upon some iceborne crates and peers inside. He finds really delicious fresh marbled meat within the boxes. Shuyu notes that pet animals on Blue Planet feed better than most people there. 3 of his colleagues welcome him and wonder whether he is going to feed the snow wolves as he is picking up a box to move. They tell him that snow wolves are hostile and even imply he might require dandelion clusters for healing, just in case. Seeing Shuyu's anxiety, they comfort him knowing that, as long as the Wolf King is here, he need not worry. Shuyu tells his colleagues he will handle even though they laugh it off and offer to help. They wave him farewell as Shuyu heads off with 3 crates. Shuyu walks into another structure and scales a ramp leading to the snow wolf breeding ground. He chooses to give adjusting to this new environment top importance. Once he has totally adapted to his environment, building relationships can happen later. The nesting ground is amid a white, snowy mountain range. Shu Yu stops unloading the meat boxes to collect his ideas. Two snow wolves suddenly show behind him, their violet eyes shining as they identify their target. His spine freezes, and he is unsure if this is from the cold or from anxiety. Startled by the wolves' tremendous roar, turning around, Shu Yu yells as a group of snow wolves towers before him. Memories flood his head and provide vital information just on demand. Shu Yu recalls that snow wolves are categorized as high-level transcendent animals and have an icy quality, much like a computer might rapidly load data. Evolutionarily developed in icy mountains, snow wolves have the strength to demolish steel and the stealthy hunting capacity in blizzards. Their abilities include cold breath, freeze crunch, icy slash, snow mask. Shu Yu is not sure whether knowing this makes him more confident or even more terrified. He reads the ideas of the snow wolves using his telepathic gift. The animals are quite ravenous. Shu Yu even seems to them to be a possible dinner. Shu Yu questions whether telepathy is really a blessing or a curse when the wolves fix their malicious smiles at him. Shu Yu muses over whether he is here to feed the snow wolves or to become their dinner as they approach. Their glitter violet eyes stay fixed on him as he handles the meat carton prepared for their dinner. Desperate, Shu Yu yells for the Wolf King in search of aid. He remembers being assured everything will be good as long as the Wolf King was around. Suddenly, echoing across the snow-covered terrain is a powerful, commanding roar. Rising from behind the group is a massive wolf with 2 golden bands on his body and gold bracelets on each leg. The other wolves step aside and seat as the Wolf King boldly approaches Shu Yu. Shu Yu freezes in position upon seeing the magnificent beast. Approaching him with his snout lowered to Shu Yu's forehead is the Wolf King. Shu Yu wonders whether this is the Wolf King's method of marking him when the cold sensation leaves. Maybe the king is leaving his smell to say thanks. Shu Yu just finds it relieving that the marking calls for a nose boop rather than something more sinister. The handbook of the skill materializes before Shu Yu just before he can completely understand the circumstances. He has not called it. Its sudden showing surprises him. The handbook opens on its own, and in the middle of the pages starts a ball of light to grow. The book reveals fresh material including the skill of the Wolf King Intimidation. A high-level mental ability, intimidation lets the user terrify, discourage, or dominate others with their aura. It can even totally eliminate less strong opponents. Realizing the Wolf King has just displayed a rare and strong ability, Shu Yu marvels at the manual for the skill. Shu Yu starts his day copying the skill Intimidate, which stands for King's Quality utilizing the handbook for that ability. Shu Yu wants to impart to his future pet beast this great ability. He even imagines someday raising a beast king. The low growl of the Wolf King interrupts his thoughts. He glances down at Shu Yu, apparently inquisitive about whether Shu Yu is afraid. Shu Yu comments the Wolf King has no idea how delighted he is when he telepathically detects his thoughts. Taking up the meat crate, he starts feeding the snow wolves. The wolves stay peaceful and under control since the Wolf King has marked him. Making use of this, Shu Yu contacts the tops of their heads. He is surprised to see an exclamation mark showing he could teach them the talent Intimidate. Happy, Shu Yu sees himself producing his own Wolf King. He soon cools his enthusiasm, though, seeing the risks involved in releasing several Wolf Kings without due thought. Turning his attention back on the current work, he guarantees the wolves have food. Shu Yu cannot replicate other skills since the feeding session finishes without the wolves using other ones. Thrilled with his gain of a high-level mental ability, he then departs the icy mountains and toward his next stop. He sees a greenback eagle swooping above on the way, and a prompt suggests Intimidate might likewise be taught to the eagle. Though he gets even more excited about raising a Wolf King and a Bird King, he chooses to move carefully. There is no hurry since 3 months of internship are ahead. Shu Yu sees a billboard promoting the Iron Bamboo Base campaign, providing Iron Eaters for 50% off for Pingcheng District residents as he is on his way. He is happy with his first pet beastin Iron Eater which he already reserved. Iron Eaters are quite adorable despite their name. They look like pandas with green eyes, round bodies, and fluffy fur. Classed as middle-level transcendent creatures, their only ability is Harden, which seems inadequate in a society of fast development. Shu Yu likes their rarity and beauty even though she attributes this to their inherent sloth. To trigger their Harden ability, Iron Eaters eat metals and minerals. Shu Yu begins to sketch training strategies. seeing a remarkable Iron Eater created by combining Harden, Intimidate, and maybe a Sensing or Agility ability. Though he has to first get his breeder certificate at the end of his internship, confident in his creative approach, Shu Yu is driven to make this happen. Driven by the image of his prospective Iron Eater, Shu Yu sets off on his next assignment, gathering information on green cotton worms. Arriving in experimental area, O1, the team leader notes the simplicity of the work but cautions of a punishment, involving 1,000 worms for inadequate performance. Shu Yu approaches the glass cages holding the worms since she sees this as a great learning chance. Mostly grown species, green cotton worms are little, roughly finger-sized worms, though at low level, they have many evolutionary routes. Every worm is vivid green with yellow devil-like horns. Shu Yu welcomes them, but as his hand approaches, the terrified worms squeal. One courageous worm climbs onto his finger, but the rest react swiftly, spewing sticky silk covering Shu Yu's face in threads. Shu Yu notes the green cotton worms and realizes their response to his presence points to a different strategy needed. One courageous worm glares fiercely before a green exclamation mark shows above its head as it climbs onto his finger. Shu Yu is shocked to learn that even this small creature might grow to be a green cotton worm king. The worm loses interest and leaps back into its cage. But moments later, the guidebook for the talent opens and notes the new skill silk thread has been recorded. Surprised, Shu Yu sees that creatively deployed this bug-type ability could be rather helpful. Furthermore, the guidebook shows that regular instruction may help one develop skills like silk, which piques Shu Yu's interest on the opportunities. Shu Yu analyzes the breeding base and discovers that 51 pet monsters, most of which have basic low-level skills, live in his dorm. These contradict his idea of creating amazing creatures. Though aware of possible limits to his copying ability, he chooses to give intermediate and high-level skills, especially sense and agility, top priority. His studies also bring attention to the plant-based beast known for its medicinal qualities, the dandelion cluster. Called a model healer in breeding grounds, Shu Yu's next target becomes clear. Driven, Shu Yu develops a scheme to close up the dandelion clump. He visits the infirmary pretending to have a sprained wrist. Arriving, a black-haired doctor welcomes him, gently evaluating the matter by raising her spectacles. She looks used to such antics but decides to laugh with him while knowing him as a new intern. Shu Yu asks whether his injury will hinder his capacity to work, acting somewhat convincingly. The doctor starts treatment after comforting him that is mild. What wonders Shu Yu? The doctor calls the dandelion clump, a plant-like monster with tiny eyes buried in its cottony body, with a basic snap of her fingers. There is no chanting or additional movement. The process is simple. The dandelion clump travels toward Shu Yu. Its presence is wonderful and soothing. It starts to repair his wrist, and Shu Yu senses the agony go practically immediately. He says nonchalantly that the therapy wasn't too bad, but within he finds great impact from the quickness and accuracy of it. The skills manual opens once the dandelion clump closes. There seems to be a notification. Recorded high-speed healing. Shu Yu finds he has mimicked a middle-level wood-type healing ability that greatly hastens recuperation. Shu Yu considers his development and notes he can replicate the abilities of pet creatures at the facility. Having 3 months left in his internship, he is aware he has many chances to acquire skills. The doctor teases him for overreaction once his wrist heals. Even the white dandelion plant tells him his damage was minor. Guilt-ridden, Shu Yu resolves to be more cautious and chooses to go back later with food as a thank you gift for both the doctor and her plant beast. He argues that his experiment is worth doing as even minor injuries healed by pet animals help enhance their skillfulness. Shu Yu discovers, back in his hostel, that teaching skills consistently helps his companion beast to become more masterful. This revelation seems like a game changer, maybe quickening their training. Thinking back on the events of the day, he is astounded at how much he has discovered in not too long of a period. Shu Yu considers the united examination of the Tamers Association and wonders how long it will take for him to become an official tamer, remembering the doctor is an intern tamer. These ideas send him slumber. Shu Yu avoids low-level skills during the following 3 months, concentrating on gathering high-potential ones. Along with absolute slumber, a recuperation ability from a breeder's transcendent pet beast, he adds super sight, a wind-type ability from high-level bird beasts that improves eyesight. The latter saves medical costs for his beasts by allowing quick recuperation through deep sleep and fits nicely with fast healing. Shu Yu jokes that his Iron Eater will have to learn about his financial limits. Shu Yu finds, though, that his skill set manual is limited. It only has 5 talents. Frustrated but driven, he muses over methods to increase the handbook's capacity, hypothesizing that honing his taming ability will reveal this capability. Through meditation, he also gains knowledge on the need of increasing his taming dimension, which increases its capacity to manage higher-level creatures, accelerates their development, and sharpens his taming ability. Shuyu aims to turn professional tamer in a year. Shuyu gets ready for the next stage of his path, carrying his Glacier City breeding base intern breeder certificate. He goes to meet the Iron Eater he bought 3 months ago at the Iron Bamboo breeding base. Shuyu muses on his hometown, Glacier City, a second-tier city in the Pingcheng district, renowned for its specialized beast, the Iron Eater, as he gets closer to the base. Shuyu, standing at the Iron Bamboo base's entrance, glances up the steps resolutely. Shuyu, wiping sweat from his brow, reaches the top of the stairs. The place seems vacant. He starts to gather his breath and was startled by a great roar. Looking up, he stops as a massive Iron Eater turns back at him. Shuyu stumbles back confused and then finds it's a mascot. The person inside, Lin Shuzu, an Iron Bamboo base employee with staff inscribed on the uniform. Shuyu finds humor as well as incredulity at seeing someone dressed so heavily in this heat. Introducing himself, he asks the costume wearer whether it bothers her. For breeders especially, Lin notes that the mascot helps her interact more effectively with Iron Eaters. Shuyu agrees, value her reason. Shuyu shyly acknowledges he's still studying, after realizing from her voice and gestures she's a girl. Lin gently tells him anyone can accomplish her job with effort. The discussion changes when Lin fervorously presents Iron Eater outfits with a $2 discount offer. Instead, Shuyu grudgingly complies, hoping for a discount on his Iron Eater, feeling somewhat let down but follows her inside. Lin removes the mascot to expose a tall, black-haired female sporting piercing yellow eyes wearing a green panda sweater and shorts. Shuyu hopes privately she won't try to sell him the sweater either. Lin checks Shuyu's documentation at the reception desk to make sure he can pick his Iron Eater. As Shuyu comes late, excitement mounts, but Lin notes that one Iron Eater is remaining. The one who remains has health and personality problems. Probably this is the reason it wasn't selected first. Feeling this is his version of being left with Pikachu, Shuyu likens his circumstances to those of Ash Ketchum from Pokemon. Not determined, Shuyu tracks Lin throughout the tranquil Iron Eater's surroundings. Trees, a forest, and a path over a running river define the calm space. Iron Eaters are particularly sluggish during the heat season, Lin says. Larger ones are more passive while smaller ones remain busy. At last they arrive at the last Iron Eater, who treats them with a sour glance. Shuyu notes that the Iron Eater strikes a neighboring tree with unexpectedly great force. Though Shuyu thinks this Iron Eater is obviously not the wisest one, he is resolved to maximize his new friend. Lin says the cub was weaker than others since he had problems at birth. Although most Iron Eaters pick up the hardened ability by 1 year old, this cub has not yet perfected it. Many would consider this lack of talent. Lin notes that this has helped to define his particular character. Unlike the usually mild Iron Eaters, this cub often rams into trees, learning harden and becoming stronger from it. Lin notes the cub's discipline and says his diligence makes up for his lack of natural ability. She stresses how rare such willingness is among Iron Eaters. Shuyu agrees, noting that the cub might not be gifted, but his tenacity is admirable. Lin tells him that growing the cub in a taming realm will enable him to advance his abilities more quickly. She also notes that the cub's extreme training results in an unusually great hunger. Inspired, Shuyu chooses to adopt the cub. Iron Eater's slowness has been one of his worries. This conscientious youngster fixes that problem. Lin thoroughly checks to make sure. Most tamers want gifted animals. Shuyu boldly says he respects diligence and feels a close relationship with this cub is important. Lin grins at his determination. Lin says she treats all Iron Eaters equally when Shuyu requests a discount. She provides a month's supply of Iron Bamboo though, as this is an exception. Appreciative, Shuyu gladly agrees. Approaching 11 the cub, Lin softly pets him and tells him he has been selected by a tamer. Shuyu hears 11's thoughts teleistically. At first, the cub objects, saying he can become stronger on his own because Iron Eaters aren't slaves, and calmly picking up the rebellious 11, Lin tells him running away results in no meals. Having a tamer, she says, will improve his life and enable faster and more effective learning. Hearing this, 11 stares at Shuyu and grudgingly muses on meals and a nice bed. Shuyu laughs, reassuring the cub he will supply things as long as he can afford them. 11 grudgingly agrees, underlining he is not a slave but will accept food and a bed. Lin smiles at his resistance. Sure, 11 will flourish given the right treatment. Can they create a contract? Shuyu asks. Lin agrees, observing their get ready. Shuyu and 11 make their link facing one other. 11 travels into Shuyu's taming dimension as the deal is finished. Lin observes silently and muses over 11's incredible will. She hopes for both of them improved fortune. Shuyu feels the tiredness of the process, but fast recovers since a warm green aura envelops him and gives him energy once more. Lin tells him to let 11 become acquainted with the taming dimension and congrats him on contracting his first pet beast successfully. She advises him not to call forth and bring back 11 too often, since it would lead to stress. She tells Shuyu he should be able to learn hard, and within a week, if 11 adapts nicely to the taming dimension. Suddenly, opening before Shuyu, the talent's handbook alerts him that a new beast contract has been discovered, his tamer points have grown, and fresh recordable skills have been unleashed. Shuyu understands right once that 11, his new companion beast, must have supplied the energy he sensed before. Though the Iron Eater is naturally stubborn, he realizes that this same vitality most likely helped Lin overwhelm 11 previously. Lost in contemplation, Shuyu analyzes every fresh advance. Lin notes and probes whether something seems off. Shuyu says, snapping out of it, that he is still adjusting to his body, feeling seems to have improved in quality. Lin tells him this is typical of first-time tamers and assures him he will grow used to it with time. She tells him right now to concentrate on clearing the paperwork. Lin asks him to put down his address so they may know where to send the iron bamboo and provides him a notepad. She says the bamboo needs to be fresh and advises against stockpiling huge quantities. Shuyu can buy more once the free supply runs down, but he will have to pay for it. Shuyu consents without doubt to all the agreements. Shuyu asks softly for another favor once the paperwork is finished. Lin is taken aback since she believes she has already covered what he requires knowledge about. Shuyu says he would want to tour the facility in order to better grasp the natural surroundings of Iron Eaters, since he thinks this understanding will enable him to take better care of 11. With focused fists, he underlines his seriousness about being a competent tamer. Lin tells him he may bring 11 to play whenever and lets him explore the premises. She warns him, nevertheless, once more that free food is not going to be available. Ever the opportunist, Shuyu smiles, but his wicked intention is obvious. Unlocking a new ability space in his skills handbook, he intends to use the chance to touch the other Iron Eaters and replicate their abilities. 2 hours of facilities visit allow Shuyu to pick up the Iron Eaters' techniques. They all have low-level metal-type ability, which hardens their body with an invisible layer of armor. As expected, this is hardened. One can employ this armor for defense as well as for offense. Shuyu is sure that he can just teach 11 straight using his taming ability, even if he struggles learning Harden on his own. At last, Shuyu shows up at the house he will be residing in. Though old, it offers a large open yard with a tree in the corner ideal for training 11. Calling his Iron Eater to assist in house cleaning, 11 approaches without thinking and lets Shuyu hug him by rubbing his face on his arms. Driven by his pet beast's pure adorableness, Shuyu concludes that a beautiful creature shouldn't be doing menial chores like cleaning. Shuyu totally neglects cleaning. He tells his Iron Eater his intention to impart the talent by telepathy. 11 looks up at him, slightly perplexed, but balls his fist right away. Around his paw starts to develop a thin blue film. This time Shuyu is the one puzzled. He inquires of 11 whether the action before was Harden. 11 then goes on to say in his own manner that he just napped, and that when he woke up, Shuyu stares at him and then starts to grin proudly. Like a proud dad delighted to observe the effect of the taming dimension personally, he pats 11 on the head. Though it has just been 2 hours, 11 had been advised it would take at least a week to learn Harden. Shuyu strives to concentrate on the present work of cleaning the house, even with the breakthrough. The Iron Eater pauses as he asks 11 to assist him in cleaning the place. Iron Eaters are naturally lazy, as everyone knows, and cleaning doesn't constitute as training. Shuyu personally seems more fascinated in evaluating 11's abilities than in making the house livable. Shuyu chooses to reteach 11 Harden in order to raise its degree of proficiency. The Iron Eater guidebook he came onto claims that a skill has 4 levels: beginning, experienced, proficient, and perfect. Also included a unique level known as flawless. 11 is at the beginner level since she just acquired the ability. Usually 1 month of instruction is needed to get from beginner to proficient. Shu Yu's rational nature causes him to examine the stamina and efficiency of applying this technique, even though the skills handbook lets him reteach skills to hasten this procedure. After some contemplation, he chooses to start 11 with a simpler talent from his handbook, Silk. 11 lacks affinity for bug-type skills, hence learning is impossible. Driven to test this ability, Shu Yu begins to think about how to go on. Like responding to his silent prayer, there is rustling close. Shu Yu looks to find a green cotton worm coolly seated on a tree in his yard. Perfect. The worm screams as Shu Yu orders 11 to catch it without damaging it. Shu Yu stays careful since he is sending his pet beast into this first fight. But 11, full of assurance, doesn't stop even for a moment. He zigzag runs for the tree, quickly climbs it, then leaps onto the branch where the green cotton worm is seated. 11 cuts the branch right away, sending it tumbling down. 11 falls elegantly and catches the worm in his paw before the branch sets down. Now teary-eyed, the green cotton worm glances up at Shu Yu, who compliments 11 for perfect catch. Over the worm, Shu Yu and 11 stand, their eyes shining with will. But the worm is unsure about the kind of adventure it has been dragged into. Terrified by the little but mighty iron eater that caught him, the green cotton worm quakes. 11, indifferent, tosses the worm perversely on the ground. Feeling the threatening presence of the two ferocious animals looming over it, the miserable worm lands flat. Shu Yu is observing the worm and finds something fascinating. One mark on its body denotes that Silk's ability is just one-sided, that is, once learnt only. Shu Yu becomes excited about this, since it indicates the worm has great room for development in terms of talent. Shu Yu asks half-jokingly, staring closely at the worm, if it intends to move anywhere. Not that the worm has somewhere to run. Shu Yu kneels to the ground and carefully picks the worm up one more, making sure it won't escape and thus seals the deal. For this tiny green cotton worm, the journey is just starting. Shu Yu considers his 3 months as intern working with him daily as he watches the green cotton worm lie on the floor. Now second nature to him, he untangles the silk from his arms with trained simplicity. The worm looks shocked at Shu Yu's dexterity and calm. Approaching it closely, Shu Yu threatens it using telepathy, reminding 11 that should it refuse cooperation, it would be fed to her. 11, close by, drools at the sight of food. His opportunistic character reflects his tamers. Shu Yu is ready to try his teaching ability once his test subject is locked. Above the head of the worm comes an exclamation point suggesting that the silk skill is teachable. The manual for the skill shows as he sets the worm in his palm and gets ready for the process. Light starts to collect around his hand and the worm. As the procedure starts, the worm freezes in shock. Shu Yu is overcome with tiredness, hunger, sleepiness, and fatigue all at once. Still, he keeps concentrated and notes a second stripe on the back of the worm. Success in missions. The worm's first perplexity could be explained by a surge of memories connected with the silk talent. The worm seems stronger and more assured after the process finishes. It jumps from Shu Yu's hand and suddenly hooks his hands mid-air with improved silk threads. Shu Yu is proud instead than shocked. Although the silk is still not a match for his skills, he appreciates the effort of the worm since its quality is outstanding. Deflated, the worm turns to Shu Yu. Shu Yu notes that the worm's silk ability has progressed from novice to advanced degree. He points out that the silk it generates matches the premium quality threads from the best green cotton worms at the breeding base. Still, the worm has not become bigger with the improvement. He questions whether his teaching ability had any influence or if the level rise resulted from the worm's own awareness of the talent. Still, the experiment yields success. Driven by content, Shu Yu muses of imparting another ability. Opening the manual on the skill, he discovers the instructional element locked for 8 hours. Shu Yu understands that a preventive mechanism to avoid burnout stamina consumption probably accounts for the cooldown. Choosing to rest, he notices that 8 hours is the cooldown for low-level skills and worries about how long it will take for higher-level skills to unlock. He notes that the green cottonworm's new golden housing reflects its improved status, and sets it in a tiny cage on a tree for now. Shu Yu starts to consider methods he may cut his recovery time as he sleeps. Surely tamers may gain from supplements meant to support pet creatures' training as well. Shu Yu promises 11 he will make dinner bamboo shoots using sliced pork and rice. 11 starts drooling as expected when mentioning food. Shu Yu assures him to relax and promises to phone when dinner is done. 11 objects, though, annoyed by the proposition. 11 is driven to train, behind in terms of skills, and insists on beginning right away. As Lin mentioned, Shu Yu understands 11 is not like other Iron Eaters. He wonders whether 11 feels undeserving of food unless he trains. Shuyu grudgingly agrees to let 11 practice outside following yet another effort to convince him to relax. 11's tone immediately brightens. Shuyu finds lacking appropriate training tools once outside. 11 gestures to the house walls as a possible target, but Shuyu stops him appalled at the idea of his walls being demolished. Rather, he advises 11 to practice the hardened skill in brief bursts on particular body regions, therefore comforting her that more complex methods can develop later. 11 agrees, therefore preventing a possible catastrophe. Shuyu breathes in relief and adds training gear to his expanding purchase list. His pressing financial demands cause him to consider ways he may make money. He concentrates on growing the green cotton worms, anticipating that once their silk skill achieves ideal proficiency, it would generate premium silk fit for sale. Although Shuyu envisions the worm as a potential source of income. Right now, it is low maintenance and eats just regular leaves. Shuyu visits 11 following supper and discovers the Iron Eater already asleep on his bed. Shuyu is touched by 11's conviction that both before and after meals one needs training. He wonders whether 11's will results from a dread of abandonment. Shuyu softly assures him he won't be leaving him. Later on, Shuyu rests on his bed trying to fall asleep, but money concerns keep him woke. He also questions why he lacks a phone or computer, but his interest about using a panda as a cushion takes front stage. Choosing to put off these worries for tomorrow, he at last nods off. The morning the next is calm. The green cotton worm gladly gathers leaves for breakfast, using its silk expertise. The peace is broken suddenly with a loud noise. Bursting out of the house, Shuyu fervently declares he is completely recovered. He accesses the skills guidebook to verify the cooldown has elapsed, therefore enabling him to teach skills once more. Feeling energized, he says the day is off to a fantastic start. 11 is supposed to be taught the hardened ability once more in order to become more masterful. He had to first purchase vitamins, though. He tells 11 to keep sleeping as he checks on his beloved animals before heading off. He guarantees to let him go following his shopping expedition. Surprised to find the green cotton worm gathering leaves for itself, Shuyu meets it as he exits the house. Carelessly, totally unconcerned, the worm chews away. Shuyu investigates its nutrition and notes the worm has been consuming the nutritious plants found at breeding sites instead of the leaves from a neglected pemon tree. On his way back, he decides to change its diet by gathering nicer leaves to guarantee the worm stays healthy and active. Shuyu notes how drastically his life has changed since he became tamer as he strolls over the crowded streets. His gaze is drawn at a stoplight to a two-wheeled cart hauled by blue dogs. The green mohawk-wearing driver guides the dogs with great precision. Shuyu starts to feel sympathy for the dogs, since she understands that animals are utilized not only for fight, but also for daily chores. His musings are cut short by a woman yelling at her gemstone cat, a rich brown and white animal decked with gold bangles. Far more costly than Shuyu's belongings, the cat wanders down the street. Shuyu questions who is walking whom, the woman or the cat as she hunts it. Though this one doesn't seem to have, diamond cats usually need a tamer to be controlled. Shuyu recalls that cat's eye gemstones enhance the optical abilities of the cat, so they are quite precious. Still more costly are the gemstones themselves. Shuyu begins to think about how diamond cats might present yet another future source of income as he keeps on strolling. Eventually, he gets to the 100 Herbs Hall, where a clerk with curly green hair and glasses welcomes him. Shuyu questions about selling silk, and the clerk says they only purchase high-grade silk made from green cotton worms cultivated on a particular diet. The cashier gives him a handbook covering the cost and silk specifications. Driven by the possible earnings, Shuyu figures his income from selling premium silk. Shuyu believes he has around a year left before his inheritance and financial aid run out, given his limited means and monthly loan repayments stretching his budget. Should he fail as a tamer by then, he could have to work a regular job at the breeding base and let 11 go. Turning back to his strategy, Shuyu realizes that his success depends on absolute mastery of the silk of the green cotton worms by means of improvement. Offering premium silk could supply him consistent income required. Seeing Shuyu lost in concentration, the clerk probes whether he would be interested in selling silk. Shuyu gently turns down for now and instead buys the medicine he needs. Shuyu walks home from his buy, worn out from carrying his shopping bag. He adds to his expanding list of purchases a cell phone and mode of mobility. Shuyu sets the grocery bag on the table and looks over the bought medicine. Made from elements of plant-type transcendent creatures, Mingxian capsules are well known for lowering tiredness and enhancing physical power. Many taters turn to them for rapid healing following conflicts. They are luxury for Shu Yu, and he understands he has to use them wisely. Shu Yu calls 11, who gladly stretches and gets ready for the day, following a peaceful night. Shu Yu watches his pet and detects the good energy coming from the taming dimension. Now, completely awake, 11 clenches his hand, immediately eager for training. Declaring he wants to train for 6 hours, he is rather explicit about his goal. Shu Yu sighs, underlining the need of a work-life balance and counsel him to slow down. 11, though, looks blankly and does not grasp the idea. Shu Yu starts to tell 11 that he generates the taming dimension's energy. Although 11's excitement appeals to him, he should be aware of Shu Yu's own constraints. He understands that expanding his taming dimension and using the skills guidebook costs him also. Shu Yu concerns about his own stamina with such a committed and motivated pet beast since 11 finds anything else than training unacceptable. Shu Yu is organizing 11's next class and is thinking about teaching him absolute slumber to aid in recovery from tiredness. 11 keeps rolling about, totally absorbed in the need to train. Shu Yu stops him when he even yells his plans, saying they will concentrate on first increasing his hardened skill, then absolute slumber. Shu Yu smiles and reteaches Harden using the skills guidebook and pinching 11's cheeks. As the class starts, light accumulates between them. The green cotton worm in surprise watches from its cage. 11 roars loudly, obviously experiencing the consequences of the instruction as the process gets more intense. Shu Yu is tired after the class but finds it under control, just as it was yesterday. He notes the dark bags under his eyes after wiping the sweat from his forehead. He chooses to have one of the Mingxian pills. He gets pleasure right soon after ingesting it, his tiredness disappearing. Examining 11, Shu Yu notes his pet's fresh vitality. 11 lifts his arm and yells a victorious battle cry. His fist strikes the ground with a sudden, strong force, breaking the floor. Shu Yu bursts in demand to know what 11 is doing. 11, however, remains quiet and seems inspired by his own strength, gesturing to the damaged floor. Frustrated yet surprised, Shu Yu says 11's hardening ability has progressed to the experience level, greatly enhancing his battle capacity. Shu Yu feels unhappy about the harm done to his house even while he notes the improvement. 11 stares at Shu Yu, clearly inquisitive as if he has been harmed. Shu Yu asks 11 whether he still feels such urgency to train and crosses his arms. 11 copies him, but then looks downcast knowing he didn't really merit his recent increase in power. He insists on practicing intensely for 24 hours straight in return for maintaining his acquired strength. Shu Yu sighs, cautions 11 that non-stop training will simply drive him to his limits rather than help him level out. Still, 11 is resolute. Shu Yu lays guidelines for the training to help to avoid house damage. 11 is training. Shu Yu lounges on the veranda reading over the skills manual. The Mingxian capsules help him to regain his endurance. Yet, the cooldown for teaching skills is still 24 hours, exactly corresponding with 11's training. Shu Yu notes 11's better capacity to keep the blue light on his fist, now able to harden his skin for 30 seconds and activate harden faster. Today's priorities are learning to harden several body parts at once and increasing speed. Concerned about the security of the house, Shu Yu understands he requires appropriate training tools. This motivates him to include it on his shopping list together with other needs for enhancing 11's taming dimension surroundings. He determines that the main focus should be on the surroundings if 11 is to grow. Shu Yu remembers, when considering his taming dimension, that the fundamental components are binding intensity, scale, and environment. Shu Yu concentrates on furnishing the ideal surroundings for the expansion of his pet, 11 already disciplined. 11 absolute slumber is something he intends to teach to aid in rehabilitation. He is sure 11 will advance rapidly with the right treatment. Still, financial restrictions present difficulties. Shu Yu visits a shop looking at steel choices, aware of future expenses, in order to solve this. Notwithstanding the worries, he tells himself the investment in 11's expansion will be well worth. Shu Yu's green cotton worm has promised a better diet the next day. Shu Yu meditates with an eye toward enhancing the surroundings of 11's taming dimension. Shu Yu eagerly awaits working on hardening techniques the next day, as 11 trains with tenacity. Shu Yu receives a knock on the door as the next day starts. He rushes to welcome the guest and discovers that Fatso Gang's ordered durable alloy steel boards have arrived. The delivery man tells him following the transaction that, should there be any flaws, the things can be returned for free. Shu Yu calls 11 to assist in board inspection after delivery is complete. 11 shows up looking as lovely as usual, but now with a hyper panda look with a red scarf-like cape. Shu Yu is happy to see that already the Taming Dimension environment is paying off. Grateful, he gives 11 more food for his improvement. Shu Yu says they will concentrate on hardening training and starts to note the house isn't perfect for this. 11, however, gestures his tail, calling Shu Yu to try his power on him, saying that courageous Iron Eaters experience no suffering. Knowing he would be the one wounded, Shu Yu rejects the proposal and substitutes the steel boards. Shu Yu orders 11 to practice rushing downward onto the height and strengthen his physique. Declaring the procedure to be falling, he notes that the starting height allows one to modify the difficulty. 11 gives Shu Yu 11 enthusiastic hugs and deems him a genius. 11 starts training and finds great ease smashing through heaps of steel. He employs fast healing after seeing injuries on his hands to recover right away, and starts training once more. Shu Yu considers the development within the residence. 11's hardness has improved to a proficient level. The steel boards act as nourishment and training aid. The silk of the green cottonworm has also attained a good level, resulting in more robust fabric. Shu Yu is content with the pills that enable him effectively train both creatures. Shu Yu determines it's time to put their battle talents to the test as Harden and Silk are advancing steadily. To save energy for a real battle, he orders 11 to pause and eat lunch. Eager for the battle Shu Yu described, 11 easily crumples the steel sheet he is carrying. Knowing that pet beast development depends on food, training, and fighting, Shu Yu chooses not to jump right into risky situations. Rather, he chooses a controlled bout in a respectable facility, so the fight is against a beast of the same caliber. Shu Yu muses over the tests he needs to complete to be a professional tamer on his walk to the fight center. The fundamental survival and fighting tests. Feeling exhausted simply thinking about it, he chooses to join a Tamers Association wilderness training instead, and rules out the survival trials for now at this moment. He tells himself that the safest choice is a professional environment. Shu Yu gets at the Pingcheng District Tamer Battle Gym and is met by a green-haired receptionist. He requests a tour and says he is first-time visitor. The receptionist breaks out the 3 fight choices: setup combat, choosing his opponent; random combat, in which he is matched with an opponent of equivalent level; and gamble war, in which case the loser covers both players' expenses. Shu Yu rules out the planned battle after weighing his possibilities since he knows no other tamers. He chooses the gamble battle, hoping for free instruction. With both costing 100 yuan, the receptionist says battles fall under levels 1 to 6 and levels 7 to 10, covering officials and medical treatment. Shu Yu feels the pressure of spending money, yet she determines the services given justify the expense. Given 11's level 5 status and capabilities like Harden at the adept level and high-speed healing, Shu Yu feels sure of 11's ability. Though he hopes for a challenge but not a deadly fight, 11 thinks he can take a level 6 opponent. Shu Yu asks whether he may raise the stakes once he has completed the paperwork, but the receptionist tells him that is not permitted. He received a card and instructed to wait in the lobby for an opponent. Shu Yu spots Chen Kai, another tamer filling out his own paperwork in the foyer. Blue-haired kid with glasses Chen Kai highlights his abilities and his ice armadillo pet beast. Here he is to grow. Sure, his classmates no longer confront him. Realizing they will be rivals, the 2 tamers glance at each other. Both are shortly called to Arena 11, a huge oval-shaped arena packed with fans. Shireishi, the arena manager and referee, tells them they have 1 hour to explore the arena. The referee then gives his signal to kick off the game. Shu Yu calls his pet. 11 strides forward proudly before Shu Yu, ready for fight. 11 is a metal transcendent level 5 Iron Eater cub, with a competent level hardness and a beginner level high-speed healing. Chen Kai opens his taming channel slowly. Crossing his arms as an armadillo-shaped entity materializes behind him. Around the arena, ice glaciers develop. A magnificent ice armadillo then surfaces. Standing tall, the beast has sharp claws and brilliant eyes shining with blue and yellow body armor. Comprising an experienced level of ice armor and icy slash, the ice armadillo is an ice transcendent level 6 beast. Attracting a gathering, the fight is shown live in the lobby of the gym. One of the best tamers in their year, Chen Kai is identified by student in the audience Yue, as she compliments the strength of the ice armadillo, and boldly tells her companion that none in their class can beat Chen Kai. She believes 11 is not strong enough to breach the ice armor, hence she expects Shuyu's odds are low when she sees her with an Iron Eater. Chenkai orders his ice armadillo back in the arena to utilize Icy Slash. With lightning speed, the beast lunges forth, its claws ablaze with cold energy. The power of the armadillo astounds onlookers and the referee. 11 activates Harden as the attack strikes, shocking everyone when the ice armadillo's claws break beneath the blow, unable to injure 11, who stands uninjured. Grabbing the opportunity, Shuyu commands 11 to counterattack. 11, going for his opponent, leaps high into the air. Chenkai swiftly orders his ice armadillo to turn on ice armor, therefore coating the beast in a layer of ice. Still, 11 is relentless. After a brief fight, he punches the shield of the ice armadillo with his hearty fist, breaking it. 11 performs a last strong hit, sending the ice armadillo flying across the arena broken. The beast becomes unconscious and unable to keep onto the ground. The one-sided triumph at the conflict shocks the onlookers. Shuyu smiles, pleased of their training and effort. Chenkai, wide-eyed, yells in shock at the improbable course of events. Chenkai's ice armadillo strikes the wall. The beast is still. Chenkai is left looking in shock, mumbling that it is unscientific, adamant he did not produce a half-flawed ice armadillo. Shuyu, happy with the outcome, goes back mentally over the fight. 11's Harden surprised him even more than expected. Hence, he wonders if their joyful supper the night before had raised 11's spirit. The referee strolls over to investigate the unconscious ice armadillo. Shuyu, sure the fight is done, hardly gives any thought to the likelihood of the ice armadillo resurfacing. His ideas soon turn to seeking more formidable foes for next conflicts. Equally surprised by the pace of the game, the referee questions if 11's Harden was really at the adept level, particularly for a level 5 Iron Eater. Sitting silently, Shiraishi and Chenkai both consider the surprising result. Likewise, startled in the lobby are Yue and her companion. Originally discount Shuyu and his Iron Eater, Yue is now considering things. Chenkai lost, her companion notes clearly, and startled Yue disputes any relationship to him. She guesses Shuyu must be a top-notch tamer with access to high-grade vitamins or special training techniques, perhaps from a rich household. Though Chenkai first exudes confidence, Yue hopes he will bounce back from this loss. Chenkai remembers his ice armadillo to his taming dimension and watches Shuyu stroke 11 on the head. 11 waves, nearly taunting the vanquished tamer with much enthusiasm. Determined to concentrate on his training back at university, Chenkai swears not to forget this loss. Shuyu is declared the champion by the referee, hence Chenkai has to pay the battle expenses. Shuyu sends 11 to rest in the taming dimension, after only momentarily celebrating with her. Still fascinated by his opponent, Chenkai wonders whether Shuyu attends Pingcheng. Shuyu attests to be from Pingcheng and having lately graduated from Glacier City. Chenkai finds the apparent ability difference shocking, as Shuyu must have been among the greatest tamers from Glacier City. Driven to train more, Chenkai absorbs the loss with stride. But when he back off on their chat, something doesn't quite fit. Shuyu's chronology seems nonsensical, he notes. Chenkai is set to graduate. Although Shuyu says she has already graduated, his graduation is still 1 month off. Shiraishi overhears and notes that while battle, referee, medical, and breeding majors graduate sooner thanks to internships and job placements, different majors have different graduation times. Chenkai's pride suffers greatly with this realization, particularly when he finds Shuyu isn't even a battle major. Though Chenkai knows it would heal in his taming dimension, Shiraishi questions whether Chenkai's ice armadillo requires medical attention. Chenkai chooses to pay for the services of the health center. He goes after reluctantly consenting to pay the 200 yen for the match. Shuyu is already thinking about his next test in meantime. Approaching the receptionist, he expects a more formidable opponent. He discovers, though, that tamers are categorized by the ranks of their pet beast and cannot battle those at a higher level. Frustrated but undeterred, Shuyu probes about planned battles. The receptionist tells him he doesn't know anyone directly to invite even though he can set up a battle with someone. Driven to discover someone at the Tamers Association who could offer a deserving challenge, he sets forth. Shuyu leaves the bus and makes his way to the Tamers Association, his mind racing with ideas of a good opponent or a fascinating assignment to pursue. For missions, talent testing, and tamer training, the Tamers Association is a hive of activity providing chances for people like Shuyu to grow their pet creatures and abilities. The association conducts frequent wilderness training courses in Pingcheng and provides different missions ranging from low-level duties to more difficult ones in response to the growing demand for competent tamers. Shu Yu questions if any of the given assignments would be appropriate for Eleven's training, despite his customary inclination for more profitable and financial activities. Shu Yu first goes straight for the mission application machine inside the building. Though he is thinking about money, today he is more concerned in locating a mission or opponent that will test 11 and support his development. Shu Yu feels let down after looking over the 1-star, 2-star, and 3-star missions. Many of the chores he could find, like killing ground rats or catching stray cats, seem laborious and unrelated to what he is looking for. He makes jokes to himself about the ridiculousness of some of the missions, like one involving wind locusts that would have 11 flying to capture the pests. Though entertaining, Shu Yu observes that these assignments hardly help 11 grow. But one goal grabs his attention: eradicating earth rats. Though weak on their own, these tiny red insects are clever and can turn lethal if they strike in swarms. Shu Yu sees the task as a game of whack-a-mole, one to work on 11's reflexes. Hoping that it would increase 11's agility and accuracy qualities that would be crucial in next conflict, she chooses to tackle the chore. Shu Yu starts to depart after picking up the Earth Rat assignment card, but suddenly notices a familiar face: Chen Hai. Still in shock by his loss, Chen Kai glances up as Shu Yu welcomes him and asks nonchalantly how his ice armadillo is doing. Chen Kai grudgingly says his pet has healed, but the loss still hurts his pride. Chen Kai wonders what kind of mission someone as talented as Shu Yu would undertake when Shu Yu asks whether he is on one. Shu Yu shows him the Earth Rat mission card and details on his intended pest eradication strategy. Chen Kai finds it shocking that Shu Yu plans to complete the task alone, since Earth Rats are elusive and difficult to capture in big numbers. Most tamers, he says, organize parties to do the task more effectively. Shu Yu is taken aback when Chen Kai fervently suggests they work on the project together. Shu Yu first thinks nicely of denying, but Chen Kai tells him he would assemble a 4-person squad by enlisting 2 of his classmates. Shu Yu feels as though Chen Kai is getting ready for a far more major conflict when he starts outlining a detailed strategy, assigning duties including stalling, distracting, and fighting the rats. Shu Yu agrees following some thought. Alone, facing a swarm of ground rats could be too much to handle. Establishing a team could offer insightful knowledge in strategy and teamwork. It could also enable him to build relationships with others, which would prove advantageous later on. Shu Yu's consent excites Chen Kai, who plans to call on his peers by night's end. Shu Yu goes to the 100 Herbs Hall to get supplies for the expedition in meantime. The clerk gives Shu Yu several boxes of cleaning capsules, and looks worried, since she knows him from his regular visits. Shu Yu smooths things over by saying 11 has been working hard and that he has been feeling a bit ill, an excuse he employs to deflect criticism of his regular supplement buying. He concludes, nonetheless, that he should quickly choose another supply to prevent coming out as unduly dependent on pills. Shu Yu comes home after a demanding day to discover 11 contentedly chewing bamboo, remnants of their earlier triumph. Satisfied by their victory, Shu Yu fast finishes his dinner, but his thoughts is already focused on their future path. Announcing it's time to pick up a new ability, he looks at 11 with determined eyes. Though 11 seems depressed and believes his power should come from his own efforts, not from outside assistance, he pinches her face playfully. Shu Yu wastes little time teaching his pet the Super Sight ability, even if he is reluctant. Super Sight will improve 11's eyesight, Shu Yu notes, therefore providing him with better vision and night vision when triggered with mental energy. Shu Yu teaches the ability in a flash, leaving him tired even as 11's eyes flash green. Curious by his new capacity, the Iron Eater approaches the door to try it. The results come right away. 11 sees clearly at night, and he quickly determines that this ability will be useful for his training since it will enable him to work even harder, particularly at night. Shu Yu battles the effects the skill teaching has had on him in meantime. He feels his body straying, and notes that the cooldown for learning a new talent spans 48 hours. 11 is already anxious to put his new skill to use, even if he secretly wants for a calm night's slumber. Though weary, Shu Yu finds great delight in his pet's energy. Chen Kai is somewhere organizing their Earth Rat mission. Opening their group chat to find volunteers for the squad, he is startled when the pink-haired girl from past messages him privately. She says she watched Chen Kai and Shu Yu fight and shows curiosity in understanding how Shu Yu trains his Iron Eater. Chen Kai grabs the chance and begs Yue to bring someone with a control-type pet beast to their celebration. Shu Yu meets Chen Kai in front of the Tamers Association next morning. Shuyu seems tired, yet he dismisses it as though he is well. Shuyu is surprised when the rest of the team shows up when she bows and calls him master. Yue and her buddy Yu Jingjing Shuyu comforts Yue, who appears ashamed of her Iron Eater's relative lack of ability despite the awkwardness. Every team member presents their pet beast. Chen Kai reveals his level 6 Ice Armadillo. Yu Jingjing shows her level 6 Brambles, a plant-type beast with the Entangle ability. Yu introduces her level 6 Iron Eater. Surprising the others, Shuyu says in passing that his Iron Eater is level 5 and has a good level of Harden. Though Shuyu stays silent about the effort and training 11 has put into it, her skill in Harden shocks them especially. Following their introductions, the team registers their mission and gets on the bus headed toward Bake Village. They converse to get to know one another better during the voyage. Learning Shuyu is a breeding major instead of a battle major surprises Chen Kai, and Shuyu says he finds fighting and killing unpleasant. Rather, he thinks that long-term success depends on honing the art of producing pet animals. He says his knowledge of breeding helped 11 reach a competent degree of Harden. The people welcome the team kindly when the bus reaches Bake Village and provide green jumpsuit costumes. As everyone gets ready for the work ahead, the happy environment helps to raise their spirits. Leading the team, Shuyu orders them to call their pet monsters and gets ready to use 11's super sight to more quickly find Earth rats. Yu asks Shuyu eagerly whether 11 was also obtained from the Iron Bamboo breeding base. Shuyu no DS, verifying it, but Yu finds insufficient satisfaction with that response. She guesses aloud that Shuyu might be a trainee of the esteemed Bamboo Rock Gym, a training facility committed to producing Iron Eaters. Shuyu shakes his head, therefore negating the assertion, unfortunate for her. Yu describes the Bamboo Rock Gym as an academy run under Grandmaster Tamer Lin, a venerable Pingcheng resident known for raising Iron Eaters with unusual elemental powers like electric and fire-type attacks. Having lived his entire honing techniques to produce Iron Eaters, Grandmaster Lin is regarded as the strongest tamer in Pingcheng. Shuyu's amazing development with 11 makes sense for Yu to presume he is related to the gym. Yu Jingjing chiming in notes that, although Grandmaster Lin is clearly strong, Shuyu, his daughter, might someday outperform him. Passing her pro exam at 18 and enrolling in one of the 9 majors, she was the youngest professional tamer in Pingcheng. Now graduated, her present rank and aptitudes are unknown, but her prodigy reputation is still strong. The students talk about Shuyu's profession and learn she also studied breeding and came back to Pingcheng for study. Yue recalls chatting with Lin about her selecting of her own Iron Eater. Though even her father, Grandmaster Lin, has struggled, Yu notes that Lin's aim is to investigate whether Iron Eaters may advance further. Shuyu, though, turns his focus fast when 11 begins to claw at the ground. Shuyu smiles and verifies that 11 has found an Earth rat. The group reacts right away. Chen Kai reaches for a pair of binoculars and marks the precise rat location. 11's direction helps them to find their first target, a level 4 Earth rat, which is racing across the field with an apple in its teeth. Chen Kai says the rat is isolated, so there is less risk, but they have to move fast to get it before it responds and runs away. Yu Jingjing reminds the group that, instead of sound or light, Earth rats are quite sensitive to temperature fluctuations. If their pet animals, especially the Iron Eaters and Ice Armadillo, get too close, they could warn the rat. Brambles is supposed to be sent closer so he can pass for a plant, and Entangle will help to catch the rat. The group starts the idea right away. Brambles stretches his vines at the Earth rat, but it turns out to be quite fast. It runs across the field, ditching the apple it was carrying. Trying to stop its escape, the Ice Armadillo lunges in front of it. The Earth rat leaps over the pet beast with great ease and heads straight for a burrow nearby. 11 lands squarely in front of the burrow with an impact so forceful it shocks the Earth rat before it can flee. 11 blocks its passage, hence the rat freezes momentarily, and Brambles has time to effectively apply Entangle. Though 3 companion animals surround the Earth rat presently and helped it to be captured, 11 takes front stage. Startled by the overwhelming force of 11's landing, the pupils understand that even a swarm of Earth rats would struggle against this Iron Eater. The group pauses to regain their breath once their first target is locked. They give Shiyu the captured Earth rodent since they know the rodent might have fled without 11's presence. The group now realizes, despite their successful capture, Earth rats are more difficult than first anticipated. Not even the native predator, Yu Jingjing's Brambles, could grab the rat right away. Although Chen Kai and Yu offer Shiyu an encouraging thumbs up for a job well done, Shiyu understands 11 deserves the actual credit. Shiyu mentally figures the payoff while the group talks about their advancement. Capturing 100 rats would hardly justify the labor and the dietary expenses needed to recover thereafter, at 10 yuan per earth rat. He chooses to concentrate on training 11's super sight skill, which will pay off. The team decides to divide up and cover more land quickly, therefore developing a fresh approach. They agree to just target lone earth rats and to gather at noon should someone come upon a swarm. Everyone is inspired to work harder as Yu Jingjing aggressively challenges who can catch the most rats. Knowing she will probably come in last place, Yue seems a little concerned though. She questions if 11 and her Iron Eater belong from different species. Before midday, Shi Yu positions 11 and telepathically orders his Iron Eater to shoot for 20 earth rats. 11 though says with great conviction he will catch 200. Shi Yu says 11 he doesn't give numbers any thought as long as the fruit trees and land remain unaltered. Shi Yu aggressively threatens to cut any damages from his food budget, therefore regulating 11's excitement. 11 pays the warning top attention and agrees to move carefully. They run through their daily agenda. 11 is meant to be training his reflexes and body. Shi Yu promises 11 the assignment would still be simple and exhorts him not to use talents. Shi Yu is aware that applying knowledge would always result in the ruin of the surrounds. He offers to buy more food with the reward money in order to offset this limitation. 11 gives a thumbs up driven by these words. 11's objectives clearly now are food second and training first. 11 starts working. He runs and catches one earth rat with his naked hands. Then he darts left and right, hunting the vermin while Shi Yu watches nearby. Since Shi Yu has never seen a pet beast so hardworking, the local questions him whether his pet is indeed an Iron Eater. 11 clearly is one of a kind. 11 telepathically questions Shi Yu why he isn't teaching the ability Earth Sense while each holding earth rats in each hand and even biting one. 11 thinks it would be a lot simpler to probe the ground and find the rats there. Shi Yu asks 11 whether he values acquiring additional skills right now. 11 simply steps on an earth rat triumphantly, still carrying the others in each hand. Shi Yu informs him he won't teach that ability since he wants to save the rare skill slots. The local then tells him to slow down since he finds it difficult to count the figures given how quickly everything is happening. He finds it hard to believe he is seeing an Iron Eater thus proactive. 11 is still bouncing left and right 2 hours later. The other 3 pupils have returned already. That Shi Yu's Iron Eater still has so much stamina remaining shocks all of them. Shi Yu respectfully notes that their instruction covers only this aspect. He says all his Iron Eater does is eat and train. He never drops the line. This is not anything, but actually, it isn't. Shi Yu talks of their 24-hour training sessions, which can entail jumping off rooftops till 4 a.m. When Chen Kai finds 11 has caught 22 rats in 2 hours, his eyes flash in incredulity. That is 1 rat every 5 minutes, twice 11's name. Chen Kai shakes Shi Yu and reminds him of how dead fatigued he looked upon their morning meeting. He wonders how Shi Yu manages 11's unquenchable enthusiasm. Shi Yu advises cleaning capsules he has been using and pops another one. Watching him take the supplement, the 3 students are in amazement about why he works so hard. Chen Kai, looking with respect, compliments Shi Yu's tamer attempt. He also believes this could be the reason he lags behind and develops despair about facing city tamers. Shi Yu asks how many rats the others caught, and they switch the topic. Chen Kai scored 7. Yu Jingjin scored 6. Angry at her classmates, Yue starts crying since her Iron Eater only caught 2. She even remarks her pet beast is dumb. 11 hears this and remembers his 3 in 1 capture with pride. He is sure he has simply built differently. Saying that her Iron Eater cub is doing its best, 11, the local pet, comforts Yue not to feel bad. The local concedes 11 is just the most effective pet beast he has ever seen. 11, though, looks annoyed about being touched by a stranger. Shi Yu breaks for lunch after receiving their packs. They watch 11 running about the fields as usual, relentlessly, while eating. With his highly passionate pet beast, Shi Yu finds it difficult to relax. Saying how strange it is for an Iron Eater to act this way, Yu asks Shi Yu if his pet beast ever sleeps. She wonders how she missed one like 11 and remembers spending her time choosing her own cub. Shi Yu addresses her with a question while still eating. He wonders how they believe 11 reached a skilled level of harden. They answer together, concurring he makes a valid point. Yu muses at how Shi Yu couples vitamins with a very active Iron Eater. She comes to the conclusion that they perfectly fit weirdos. Chen Kai, meantime, finds their diligence to be inspirational. He believes this explains the rather high passing rate of the professional tamer examination in the city. He questions if all city tamers are like Shiyu and how Shiyu taught his pet beast to be so obedient. The top student, driven to learn, bombards Shiyu with questions. The solutions are basic even if the questions are overdone. Shiyu says he uses the skill guidebook is exhausting, hence he takes pills. He also notes Eleven's diligence as his own strength. Regarding his Iron Eater, Shiyu had no option at all. 11 has immense promise, as both Shiyu and Lin Shiyu are aware. Shiyu acknowledges that he cannot clearly explain his coincidental relationship with 11. Chen Kai gets up, sure that success depends on hard work. Yu Jingjin gets up as well and pledges to get clearing capsules. Chen Kai beams, believing he has found the secret recipe. Should Shiyu succeed, he thinks he could as well. Young and full of optimism are the kids. Shiyu, looking fatigued, silently wishes them luck. Their conversation turns to the professional tamer tests. Chen Kai asks Shiyu, a breeding major, whether he would be taking the professional breeder exam. Shiyu answers he intends to take the professional tamer test instead. This has been his strategy from start. Though this would highlight his skills, Shiyu understands he might get wealthy working as a professional breeder. He worries about public response as, like a cheat code, it could be seen as unfair. Laws exist in their nation, after all, but there's also a class gap separating high-ranking officials from common people. Nations struggle furiously. Big corporations rule everything. Tamers compete fiercely among one another as well. Shiyu is aware that extremely intelligent, transcendent creatures seeking over their domains always pose a threat to humanity. Before completely applying the skill manual, he wants to develop his capacity for self-protection. By passing the professional tamer exam, he would be able to access advanced skills and higher-level creatures. The only way Shiyu, 11, and Warren could survive in this planet is to turn professional tamer and raise his own skills. Chen Kai cheerfully informs him they might meet each other once again should he pass the test in 2 years. Chen Kai, meantime, is lost in ideas. He points out that although their pet creatures must achieve level to qualify, the next exam is 6 months away. The minimum need for the pets to have at least exceptional combat capability is for the first round of evaluation. Reaching level 10 will be difficult for their creatures even next year, let alone attaining exceptional fighting capability. Chen Kai thinks he and Shiyu ought to take part in the assessment following year. Still, Shiyu has different ideas. He boldly assures them they will only meet should he fail the following test. Shiyu believes he has to acquire the professional credential right away to sustain his pet beast, even if he cannot afford 11 and is training with his meager finances. Chen Kai is worried and questions Shiyu, wouldn't it be a bit difficult for 11 to progress from level 5 to remarkable in just 6 months? Chen Kai is looking worried. Knowing that some animals get caught before attaining the remarkable level, everything will rely on the beast's capacity to conquer that obstacle. Shiyu is still confident, claiming that level 10 should not be an issue even if reaching the remarkable level can be challenging. He notes that animals below this level can participate in the professional exam. It is not impossible. Chen Kai queries whether Shiyu is referring to the special exam. Confused, Yue and Yu Jingjing question whether he intended the leapfrog challenge where a beast might challenge one of a higher level. Shiyu says a beast can still complete the leapfrog challenge even if they cannot reach the remarkable level. High degree of proficiency animals should be easy to confront higher rank animals. Chen Kai recalls Shiyu's Iron Eater has a decent amount of harden, which makes logical given it challenges more powerful creatures. Though in planning as well, he tells himself to train his Ice Armadillo more following their mission as Shiyu is stronger than him in every sense. Their discussion is cut short by a loud whistle, which announces something across the hamlet. This is an indoor release, animal-tied yellow warning signal. A group of dangerous animals is likely to proliferate as they approach the city wall. People are told to apply the defensive policies. The news sets the village in frenzy. People rush to accomplish their projects and compile their possessions. The elderly man urges Chen Kai and his company to head home looking concerned. Wanting further specifics, Chen Kai probes into the circumstances. The elderly man says he knows nothing, but he believes the animals on Snow Mountain are causing problems. He issues a warning. Should things become worse, evacuation instructions could follow. Shiyu believes it's not time for panic just now. One difference from 10 years ago is that massive city walls have been constructed separating Pingcheng District from Snowy Mountain. Stationed on opposite sides of the wall to guard against beast rampages, The Guardian Corps and the Tamer Association Shi Yu thinks a different code will be provided should a genuine risk of a breach exists. Chen Kai advises they investigate the matter. Yue objects, stating they would simply cause trouble. Like Yu, Shi Yu advises they go back to the Tamer Association. This is a long-term project, hence they may always return later to finish it whenever things calm down. They might also find further information about the warning available at the association. Back at the Tamers Association, the group probes the receptionist about the circumstances. Though she notes there have been 2 code yellow warnings this month, the receptionist is not specific. Someone yells to Chen Kai and Yu Jingjing before they could digest the material. Their instructor, Mr. Jiang, is there when they turn. He says he decided to investigate the group chat Chen Kai sent as he was close by. Finding out the pupils have a group chat with their teacher surprises Shi Yu. Mr. Jiang inquires of Chen Kai whether the persons he is with are buddies. Chen Kai attests they are tamers from another university. Mr. Jiang picks up right away that the group worries about the rampaging warning. Chen Kai probes on the seriousness of the matter. The Tamers Association lobby is too loud, hence Mr. Jiang advises they relocate to a quieter area to discuss. Shi Yu is already planning ahead as they walk. He wants to be ready for the worst since his neighborhood is not very safe. Outside the Tamers Association, Mr. Jiang tells the gathering the defense facilities are far better than they were 10 years ago. The Tamer Association has tools to react fast, he said. He also notes that were Ping Cheng unable to manage the matter on her alone, city tamers will be sent. Moreover, should the Guardian Corps find it difficult to keep defense, nearby cities' reinforcements will help. This is why Mr. Jiang stresses that the government is ready for rampages and does not consider the Snowy Mountain as a serious threat. To finish the conversation, the group pauses at a garden. Though Mr. Jiang calms Chen Kai's concerns about the likelihood of a full-scale attack, he claims that the gathering of animals is little compared to the catastrophe 10 years ago. Still, Shi Yu wonders about the reason behind the outburst. Snowy Mountain creatures are ice forms, hence environmental variations shouldn't be driving them into the city. Though he is aware that food shortages, rivalry, or other resource problems can all lead to rampages, none of these factors fit Snowy Mountain. Shi Yu observes that rampages should be expected, so the incident 10 years ago was an exception. He believes this could be connected to the incident Blue Planet Shi Yu lost his family from. Sadly, Mr. Jiang notes, the explosion 10 years ago is still a mystery. Mr. Jiang moves the topic as they stand next to a massive monument. He probes whether they are aware of the background of Glacier City. Though Mr. Jiang explains that the narrative he is about to share is based on hypotheses, the young group is nonetheless intrigued. Snowy Mountain did not exist 2,000 years ago. Originally the territory of a highly evolved tamer tribe, the land was an ice dragon showing up one day, landed on a mountain. Its enormous wings, cold gaze, keen claws, and brilliant eyes defined it as a formidable being. The tamer tribe's existence became difficult when the dragon arrived, since it initiated an ice age. One dragon started to cause great trouble for the whole clan. Fighting the ice dragon, the tamer tribe recovered their territory. Days of fighting followed, and the result of the struggle shaped Snowy Mountain. The listeners want to know who won. Mr. Jiang thinks the tamer tribe prevails. He goes on to tell that Snowy Mountain revealed remnants of the ice dragon. The remains seem like a cave with entrance inscriptions. According to legends, the remnants of the ice dragon are locked inside, and that its roars are still audible, even 2,000 years. The narrative terrifies Yu Jingjing so much that she attempts to hug Shi Yu, but he pulls her away. The story of the dead spirit equally shocks Chen Kai and Yue. Not bothered by their responses, Mr. Jiang gestures toward the monument behind them. He says the stone giant is the totem of the tamer tribe, and the relic archaeologists unearthed. Shi Yu should know a thing or two about archaeology, he notes. Everyone fixes on the monument. Shi Yu asks whether the tribe used the totem to fight the ice dragon. Shi Yu hears suddenly a voice declaring, "That is not how it was." Not sure from where the voice is coming from, he feels startled. The voice keeps the same statement. Shi Yu wonders if the voice is coming from the massive monument, since she notes its violet eyes glitter. He first believes it's like Ultraman's metamorphosis, but then he understands he lives in the wrong reality. Thinking the monument shouldn't be alive, he concentrates on it. He thinks telepathy only operates with live entities. Should something be wrong with the monument, he questions whether it would even be put there. The voice once again repeats. Shi Yu finds perplexity. Yu Chenjing reminds him of reality while he is fading off. Shi Yu first seems anxious. but he tells them everything is fine, and he is only appreciating the monument. The others cannot hear the voice he comes to find. Though this time the statue is starting communication, it feels like telepathy. He believes the monument might have become a spirit, but other tamers should have seen, given they live in a crowded location. Shiyu questions whether tiredness is causing him to lose sense of reason. Mr. Jiang then has to head off for an appointment. Saying that tamers can manage any scenario, even if the ice dragon rises once more, he calms the group from fearing the outburst. Chen Kai praises him and asks the others whether they would want to resume hunting earth rats. Shiyu, though, had other ideas. He is already fleeing before they can complete their questions. Chen Kai questions how he should arrange their next trip since he doesn't know Shiyu's phone number. He also questions Shiyu's ownership of a phone. Shiyu makes direct travel to the Pingqing District Library, obviously searching for hints on the stone giant. Reading about the legends, totem, and taming eras, he gathers several volumes on the history of Blue Planet. Legendary creatures controlled the globe during the Legends era. People started inhabiting areas under control of strong animals during the Totem Age. When mankind perfected taming, the Taming Age started. There are ancient and modern periods within the Taming era. 7 human countries teamed together more than a century ago. Although the volumes provide thorough background, some of it is absent. Searching the Alliance Taming database, Shiyu discovers missing or illegible data. Neither the conflict 2,000 years ago nor the disappearance of the first legendary creatures are known from history. This seems dubious to him, as something seems to be being hidden. Still, the historical books teach Shiyu a lot. His archaeologist instincts take over, piques his interest. The conundrum has set off this response in him. He recalls how on Earth he became a mythologist and every day explored ruins until a mountain crashed on him. His transmigration here, where everything is more deadly than Earth, followed from that event. He regrets not remaining home to merely indulge in comic book reading or gameplay. Shiyu upset with the past pulls at his hair. He wants to live safely and savor this life since he is here. Shiyu shuts the book right in front of him. Though the history of this planet presents fascinating riddles, he chooses not to live the same lifestyle he used to. Once more, he stands in front of the stone giant monument. He wonders if the monument communicated to him previously via telepathy and whether it objects to the history Zhang revealed. The fact that the monument doesn't react irritates Shiyu. Angry, he says he would want to leave should it not speak. Still not getting a response, he turns his back remembering that Mr. Zhang's narrative was founded on hypotheses lacking any real evidence. Shiyu orders the monument to show what happened so he may convey the actual history since he is driven to find the truth. The monument starts to move suddenly, and Shiyu gets triumphant. But violet light emerges from inside as it cracks open. There is a huge boom, and the light leaps wildly. Shiyu is not hurt despite the anarchy. Still hoping for more, he fixates on the monument. Like thunder, a terrible violet laser finds its target where the statue had been. As terror strikes, Shiyu's face becomes white. He understands the weight behind his previous inquiry. Once fearless, Shiyu now runs from the light yelling for 11 to save him. As the disturbance grows, people start to worry believing a riot is underway. Suggesting it might be an earthquake, some try to soothe others. Having been informed of the unexpected happenings, the president looks out his window and senses something important but stays composed. Still not sure the whole depth of what he set off, Shiyu goes home worried. Feeding 11, he exhorts him to get stronger so he may guard them in this perilous planet. 11 eats the food silently, apparently unconcerned about Shiyu's worries. Shiyu muses over the past events, the statue breaking and the fear on his face. He prays that everything would be well as he really regrets what he did. Choosing to stay home for safety, he puts himself in lockdown and only intends to run out for basics. Warren approaches Shiyu trying to calm down and reminds him he hasn't been fed yet. Shiyu offers him fruits and leaves right away. Warren eats enthusiastically even if he seems shocked by the profusion. Shiyu chooses to relax after a demanding day, believing the following one may provide solutions. Shiyu intends to teach 11 high-level powers like absolute slumber and intimidation, but he decides to wait for now tired. Rather, he emphasizes on 11 perfecting his present skills. As a sparring partner, he calls in the green cotton worm. Though first hesitant, the worm is bought nourishment and begins to use its newly acquired strong enough silk ray ability to pierce Shiyu's garments. 11's job is to either dodge or forecast where the silk will drop and apply harden on those spots, therefore improving his agility and reflexes. Shiyu heads grocery shopping and leaves them to train. Shiyu hears stories on his route regarding the closure of the Tamer Association resulting from an event from past night. Realizing he might be connected to the anarchy by the loss of the massive monument, he starts to get nervous. Shiyu concerns that someone with unique talents could link the occurrence back to him, even though he wasn't personally seen. Faced with the repercussions of turning criminal over a basic interest about a stone monument, he chooses to act oblivious. A research team looks at the phenomenon Shiyu unintentionally started in meantime. They believe it is an unknown ancient dimension resulting from a rip in time and space. Lu, a team researcher, is not sure exactly what the occurrence was. The crew talks on the ice dragon remnants linked to the glacial plain. Lu says someone had to have engaged with historical relics to set the dimension. They are resolved to identify the liable party. 4 days later, Hardin stays competent while Eleven's fast heal and supersight abilities are at experienced level. Though Shiyu keeps looking for opponent to challenge their strength, she is sure of their improvement. He goes back to the 100 Herbs Hall to get additional vitamins, so often the cashier advises he cut back. Shiyu wonders if it's Chen Kai when the clerk notes a student in the south purchasing the identical drugs in bulk. Intrigued, Shiyu probes the clerk on the explosion and shutdown of the Tamer Association. Apparently knowledgeable, the clerk tells Ping Cheng that an unknown area has surfaced, and she will shortly be off. Confused Shiyu asks him to clarify. Shiyu is told by the clerk that lately an undiscovered realm has surfaced. Shiyu discovers that the undiscovered dimension is an other dimension, akin to a tamed dimension. The clerk says that even after losing their link to pet creatures, taming realities exist independently following the death of a tamer and become miniature planets full of energy. Though unusual resources and species abound in these dimensions, their relative strength is typically less than in active taming dimensions. Although Shiyu is glad the scenario is not as bad as he had imagined, he is nevertheless intrigued about how his interactions with the statue summoned an uncharted territory. The cashier tells him top tamers can manage any hazard and no harmful monsters have been recorded inside. Shiyu muses over the damage to the monument on his walk home and questions the link between the uncharted dimension and actual history. He chooses to wait till he is stronger since he regrets violating his vow to reveal the truth. He becomes anxious, though, when someone knocks at his door and wonders whether someone has followed him down for damaging the monument. Though Shiyu, wary, screams out, the speaker outside claims to be providing welfare relief. The door opens to show Ancient Capital University's archaeological doctor, Lu Qingyi. She seeks Shiyu's help and notes having visited the spot of the unknown realm earlier. Surprised, Shiyu invites her in and introduces herself as a jobless tamer. Lu questions him straight, as they stroll across the yard, whether he heard a voice coming from the monument and whether he had anything to do with its damage. Shiyu finds herself surprised as she believes she knows everything. Lu says Shiyu's telepathy lets him perceive the feelings and convictions of dead objects, therefore giving them a sort of spirit over time even though the monument is not alive. Those who have this unique capacity that of hearing the voice of history are known as hearers. She advises him that in archaeology, particularly when understanding ruins or finding secret histories, this ability is quite significant. She then shows Shiyu a picture of the undiscovered dimension he set off, and tells him he disturbed the spirit of the statue, resulting in the creation of an old ruin, perhaps exposing Glacier City's actual past. Sensing Shiyu's inherent aptitude for the field, Lu encourages him to accompany her as an archaeologist. She thinks he has enormous promise. Shiyu senses a flurry of ideas developing inside his brain. This was the life he was attempting to flee, the life he had persuaded himself not to go back into. Lu is not even done speaking when Shiyu whirls at the being, a natural archaeologist. He secretly promises himself he does not want to work on archaeology in this life. His objectives are not complex. Acquire rich, keep 11, find a girlfriend, acquire a cat, go to a safe city, and lead a laid-back life. Having seen the life of an archaeologist, he has nothing to do with it once again. Shiyu gently turns down the invitation to join any archaeological association right now, so severing Dr. Lu off without delay. Lu makes clear she is not asking him to be a member of an archaeological association. The pet beasts are bonding while the humans misinterpret. The worm sits on the nose of the wind lion and 11 are trying to climb too. The people aim to match their perspective with the presented offers. Lu says it would be a waste asking Shiyu to join an association for archaeologists. She says she is presenting him another company. The whole country has just 11 hearers, less than the number of legendary tamers or divine-ranked animals under national protection. Shiyu's ability is that rare. Shiyu is ashamed for drawing hasty judgments. Lu advises him to give the proposition some thought. She seems unconcerned. She tries to persuade him by pointing out that having this skill indicates he probably has some historical curiosity, which is what let him hear the voice of the stone monument. Shiyu fiercely refutes this, contending that archaeology or history cannot reveal any money. Lu lets Shiyu time to consider while the pet animals are still playing and snaps a picture of the adorable scenario. Shiyu starts to savor his awareness that he is a national treasure among 11 hearers in the whole nation, rarer than legendary tamers and totem guardians. He smiles, seeing the pattern of 11 often showing up in his life. Based on basic reasoning, he comes to the conclusion that, should he join the company, his talent is so unusual, hence he will definitely have more advantage. Supply and demand law is what this is. Honoring this, he modestly chooses to speak out for the archaeologist. Now fascinated, Shiyu begins asking more questions, probably influenced by the prospect of a rich and comfortable existence. Lu says he may get more rights than a renowned tamer and teases him with greater advantages. She stares him in the eye and assures him he would be more respected than a legendary tamer should he join. She also suggests that he might get so wealthy, he might pay famous tamers' bodyguards to travel with him when investigating ruins. Ignore running a silk factory. This seems like the life Shiyu has always desired. Shiyu remembers that the Tamer Association president for Glacier City is only Grand Master level tamer. This implies his possible ranking could be higher than that of the president. Legendary tamers rule overlord-ranked beasts and oversee offices in first-tier cities, so joining this company will put him above even them. Shiyu gets enthusiastic and eager from the great opportunities. The company seems fantastic, and he feels there is nothing to lose by trying given all the benefits. Though Shiyu first objects to being pushed into archaeology, he now feels lucky. What first seemed to be resistance has become exhilaration. Though he is bursting with happiness within, he attempts to behave normal. Inquiring about his responsibilities should he join, he asks Dr. Lu. Lu tells him the company has an easy structure free of rules or limits. She thinks that having the hearer ability inherently inspires a passion of learning and exploration. Lu glances up at the heavens and remembers how often hearers arrive first when fresh legendary ruins come to light. Usually hearers help or even direct explorations. Being able to hear the voice of history makes one very unique. She stresses how unique this skill is even if this entails pressure and expectations. Particularly after learning there are no designated responsibilities, Shiyu appears more excited about the advantages than worried about the strain. Sounds like a dream being able to do what he wants, get access to high-ranking bodyguards, limitless resources, and copious of knowledge. He asks for the company name before his daydreams carry him farther. Lu explains the National Department for the Strategic Investigations and Reinforcements of Ruins, sometimes known as Department 11, with pride showing her badge. The company manages important ruins. Its members are considered as the special forces of the archaeological sector. Shiyu groans inside at the number 11's recurring presence in his life, but he swiftly considers it and determines it might be his lucky number right now. It seems that using the advantages as bait before outlining the goal of the company worked well since Shiyu starts to believe he cannot turn down the offer. To certify his agreement to join, Shiyu thumbs up. He inquires of Dr. Lu whether she personally belongs to the department. Lu attests to be among the 11 members. Shiyu says nothing but stumbles at the number 11 returning once more. Reaching out her hand to greet Shiyu to Department 11, Lu tells him he is now a probationary member. Thoughtlessly shaking her hand, Shiyu agrees only to stop mid-thought upon understanding what just happened. Lu fooled him. Shiyu gets uncomfortable hearing the word probation. Lu shows the tests new members have to pass to be official. Shiyu is upset at being duped, but since he already accepted, he has no choice except to follow. Shiyu is now too weak, Lu notes, even as a probationary member. But she shocks him by whipping out her phone and sending $10 million to his account as starting money. This is his signing bonus, meant to support his archaeology studies and enable him to turn professional tamer. Hearing the sum, Shiyu's displeasure disappears right away. His opportunistic character comes through as he starts to radiate enthusiasm. He naturally wonders when the $10 million would arrive and assures Dr. Lu he will do whatever she asks of him. Knowing this money will transform his life, Shiyu feels great gratitude. To him, it is more valuable than having fabled tamer bodyguards. He mentally releases the green cotton worm from its position, realizing he no longer depends on it to make money. He feels ready to let the worm go even with their long relationship. Sitting on her windline, Lu tells Shiyu the money and papers would be delivered the following day. She warns him not to expose his connection with Department 11 until absolutely required, as doing so could make him a target for foreign agents. She also comforts him since only Department 11 personnel are aware of his participation in the presentation of the ancient ruin. Finally, she says she will be his only interaction inside the company until his probationary term finishes. Shiyu considers the matter and understands that this is in fact a honey trap. What began as no responsibility has today evolved into a covert role with possible hazards. Shiyu is aware, nevertheless, of the risk involved with possessing a rare gift like his. Given his present low level, he is a likely target among only 11 persons with his ability in the whole country. Assigning Shiyu his first mission as a probationary member to uncover Glacier City's actual past, Lu. Although she says there is no deadline for the work, she stresses its significance since she thinks knowledge from the unknown dimension would enable her to decode the Ice Dragon ruins. Lu believes sure Shiyu, who grew up in Pingcheng, will be able to hear hints of past relating to the ruins. She believes Shiyu wants to find the truth just as much as she does, despite his doubts. The assignment appears exactly suited for him, and even if it's a difficult task for an intern tamer, the $10 million most definitely sweetens the bargain. Now eager, Shiyu asks whether he might pass into the uncharted dimension. Lu assures him he may go without disclosing his affiliation with Department 11, so motivating him to do so. Saying she knows he doesn't need money right now, Dr. Lu gives Shiyu a gift before she leaves. Setting her elbow on her wind line, she presents his choices. Among the options are a juvenile high-ranking pet beast, a skill tome for iron eaters, and a special evolution technique for green cottonworms. Lu figures 11 to be Shiyu's first pet beast. Hearing his name mentioned, the green cottonworm sitting on 11's head pulls at the fur of the iron eater. Seeing this encounter, Lu guesses correctly that the worm is a beast Shiyu has been tending for without a formal contract. She decides there would be no issues developing the worm as it has been grown well and exhibits a high-level skill like silk. She sees Shiyu either waiting for the worm to evolve before making a contract or keeping it for pleasure. Dr. Lu has been shockingly precise in reading Shiyu since they met. Shiyu slinks across the options put before him. He looks at 11 and muses over how difficult it is to accept anything without earning it. Maybe this reminds him of how 11 hates having skills handed to him without any effort. Shiyu isn't going to reject away this chance, though. He'll accept the gifts, same as he did the $10 million, weighing his choices he thinks on the benefits. Although he's happy with 11 skills right now, a skill tome would provide 11 an extra skill slot that would be valuable. The method of worm evolution tempts him as he has devoted so much time and energy to grow the worm, and turning it into a strong beast would make all that laborable worth. As it will let Shiyu use his talent guidebook to study and enhance it, the high-ranking pet beast alternative also appeals. Shiyu shocks nobody by asking whether he has to choose only one. Lu looks at him blankly, obviously not expecting such boldness. Shiyu contends he must have all the tools right away if he is to properly support archaeology. Reluctantly agreeing with a sigh, Lu tells him he can have all three but only as an advance pay for his paycheck. Shiyu finds he cannot contract the high-ranking pet beast until he is a high-ranking tamer. An intern tamer, he can only contract one pet beast at once. The second beast has to wait till he rises to be an early-stage professional tamer. Still, his taming dimension won't be sufficient to keep the growth of a high-ranking beast under control. This suggests that although the high-ranking beast is assured, he will have to wait some time to seize it. Looking sad but understanding, Shiyu nods and concentrates on the other gifts. Lu talks on the Iron Eater skill tome. As Dr. Lu acknowledges she is not familiar with Iron Eaters, she and the companion animals focus on this gift. She does, however, offer two techniques the Bamboo Rock Gym in Pingcheng can teach Iron Eaters. She volunteers to provide Shiyu a referral to learn straight from the gym manager. Shiyu has already been intending to pick knowledge from the Grandmaster Tamer at Bamboo Rock Gym since he thinks it makes more sense to learn naturally rather than copying skills. He accepts to go without objection. He picks up the green cottonworm and hears Dr. Lu ask directly whether he intends to contract it straight into a wind crystal butterfly. Shiyu dismisses the idea and says that among the animals with most promise is the green cottonworm. Hearing this, the worm imagines itself as a boss worm, experiencing first importance. Among all animals, green cottonworms actually have the most evolutionary routes. By means of metamorphosis, they can develop into several dozen species of moths and butterflies. Many times, researchers of evolution begin their careers by examining the patterns of development of green cottonworms. These worms grow rapidly and have quite erratic evolutionary path that resembles a gamble. The surprising results keep researchers on their toes, but Shiyu appears sure he has the best luck and will cause his worm to evolve the best conceivable way. Lu starts outlining the 3 main rank evolutionary paths for green cotton worms while standing straight next to her lazy wind lion. She underlines that the worm is a wonderful second beast for Shiyu, since its potential will probably surpass that of the Iron Eater. This thrills her even more, as Eleven's competitive drive will guarantee that both creatures keep becoming stronger together. Shiyu invites her to go into further detail on the main rank evolutions. The main rankings fall into low, middle, and high grades, Lu says. Higher ranks are far more difficult to reach. A wind and ice type beast with a skill blizzard. The low-grade chief rank evolution is the swallowtail butterfly. Its wings seem to be exquisitely made stained glass windows. A dark-type beast adept in curses, stealth assaults, and assassinations. The middle-grade chief rank evolution is the ghost beautyfly. Its black and violet wings feature terrible cat-eye-like patterns. At last, the high-grade chief rank evolution is the light-type beast adept in manipulating light rays and illusions the morpho-helena butterfly. It feels like a fight angel falling from the sky. Although every chief rank progression is different, Lu notes that each one of them is elegant in their own right. She says growing green cotton worms is not easy. Food and particular components are needed to steer the worm into the intended evolutionary route. Furthermore, silk must be at a competent level. While reaching a flawless level would highlight the beast's whole potential, Lu tells Shiyu that good mastery is plenty, and acknowledges that it is challenging to acquire perfect silk control. Shiyu is more motivated to work since he remembers the short lifetime of the worm. In all this knowledge, the green cotton worm seems lost, but Shiyu absorbs it with will and starts making plans. Shiyu muses over all the evolution forms discussed and finds them reasonable options. He enters analytical mode, charting the supplies and concentrating on learning silk at least to a competent level. He first thought that the minimum needed for evolution would be perfect mastery, but now he questions if it could unleash 200% of the worm's potential. Intrigued, he queries Doctor about whether perfect command of silk is achievable. Lu says it is feasible, but it would need raising the worm in an undiscovered or damaged dimension fit for green cotton worms. Alternatively, he may wait until he a legendary Temur to raise the worm. She notes this is not realistic at his present level. Lu's eagerness to respond his never-ending inquiries and the crash course on green cotton worm evolution keeps on. Lu tells him that there are 2 plausible ways for evolution, and even helps to design an ice phoenix moth. Though his goal is clear, Shiyu tells her that his queries are natural curiosity. Lu exhorts him not to be avaricious. She notes that whereas perfect mastery of silk would improve the evolutionary possibilities, it would also make the evolution process more challenging. More difficulty increases the likelihood of the worm not emerging from its cocoon. Lu also notes that the materials employed define the success of the progression. Giving the correct resources during the cocoon stage could give the worm a fresh ability enabling its breakthrough. Still, there are no certainties even with the finest evolution planner. Shiyu takes in this knowledge and mullers it in his head. Stronger cocoon resulting from higher silk expertise makes breaking out more difficult. If the worm succeeds, however, its evolutionary possibilities will be much more great. The method is really straightforward, yet also somewhat complicated. He understands that his tools will be vital, as failing to pick up a skill during evolution would lead to failure. Shiyu creates a strategy to teach the worm a talent using the benefits of the skills handbook before it moves into the cocoon phase. The success of the worm will be assured if it develops a talent ensuring it can burst out of the cocoon. He also resolves to bring silk to the best of conceivable quality. Once more, Shiyu starts to think creatively, excited at the possibility of deviating from convention and applying unusual evolution techniques. He questions his capacity to produce the best green cotton worm's evolution. Shiyu says, proudly hoisting the worm above his head, that he follows the evolutionary route of the morpho-helena butterfly. He intends to refer to the ingredients for this pathway, even though he understands the worm might not evolve into the rarest form. Lu reminds him of the effort and preparation needed to reach his goal, hence she is not surprised by his decision. Lu cautions Shiyu once more that the materials would be wasted and the worm will become caught in its cocoon should the evolution fail. Shiyu listens attentively and notes this information, while Lu gives him her phone to review the evolution guide. Although he already understands that the silk talent has to be at least skilled, he now finds out about the resources required for the development. These consist in young heart of light, ripe sunflower petals, fluorescent core, shining fungus, sunshine rock powder, and mature shiny grass. Giving these items to the worm will enable it to create a cocoon. After 30 days, it should master the rainbow ray skill and emerge successfully. As Shiyu notes all of this in his notepad, the green cotton worm glances over his shoulder. Shiyu is overwhelmed by how complex the processes are as he goes over the process. According to him, 1 hour before feeding the shiny grass needs to be soaked in a 9-to-1 solution, including sunlight rock powder and spring water. All the components have to be fed to the worm in 1 day at level 10. The cocoon will develop shortly after. The worm will require 30 days to develop in its new shape and with new capability. The never-ending debate on green cotton worms starts Shiyu to think about the expense of the supplies. At least level 3 resources, the things are rare and costly, significantly more expensive than the level 1 iron bamboo he has been purchasing for 11. Good thing he has 10 million cash on his way. He muses. Shiyu shuts his eyes meanwhile and reminds himself that this guide will only be his last choice. He still intends to create his own road of development towards a high-grade chief beast initially. Shiyu brings the phone back to Dr. Liu, who waves farewell as she walks toward the door carrying her wind lion. She notes how brilliantly Shiyu has reared his green cotton worm and iron eater before heading out. Shiyu starts to second his decision to join Department 11, even as he is bidding farewell. He recalls his will to avoid anything like his Earth employment, but he cannot suppress his developing curiosity in the uncharted territory. His contradicting ideas are fleeting since the promise of the money from tomorrow thrills him once more.